Hello, this is Theolyn with another episode of Bridge of Stars. So, every day when I make a video recording, I choose a character from the angel script. And if you've been following them, you should know by now that the angel script messages, channeled messages, came through to me in the early 90s, and then I published them as a book with a set of cards which help you access that wisdom. Now, what is the character today? Okay, so here we have the Ark. Is this the Ark of the Covenant? Is it the Ark that Noah built? It's very interesting that these two containers are given that same name. The Ark of the Covenant holds the sacred tablets that Moses was given on the top of the mountain with all these commandments on them. And the Israelites very faithfully carried the Ark of the Covenant around and looked after this wisdom that they'd been given. And the Ark of the Covenant, of course, has this reputation for being quite a challenging piece of kit. It's supposed to have this high-powered energy, and if the wrong people touch it, then they just die. You know. So it's and then it disappears. Where is it now? Some people claim to have it in Ethiopia. So the Ark of the Covenant is this mystical and mysterious container of wisdom. And in a modern synagogue, you will get an ark which contains the scrolls of the Torah, where they're kept in their sacred box, away from sight until there is a service, and then they can be brought out. Noah's Ark was a protective container for a time when there was a big flood. And we know that this most likely some kind of flood like that did happen. And it's not just recorded in the Noah's Ark story. The ancient Babylonians also recorded the story of a flood that's found on their tablets, their clay tablets. And the story is recorded there in cuneiform. So we can be pretty sure there was some kind of flood. And there could have been some people who created some protective environment so that they could go forward, take the animals 2 by 2, but also take the seeds for growing new plants. And that's a part of the story that's not often mentioned, that's what Noah has to do. He has to collate his family, his children, his sons and their wives, so there are enough people to start a new population. Of course, we can suspect that this flood was perhaps quite localized to one part of the world, but Noah wasn't aware whether there were any other people anywhere else. So he's looking to the survival of the human race as he understands it. Right, so now we have two options here. Or are they different? One is about an ark which is very interior, accessing wisdom, and the other is an ark which is containing what you need to go out from into the exterior, to take with you what you've got and what you can make for the future. And as we are walking across our bridge of stars, we want to carry our wisdom with us in whatever way we choose, whatever tradition we come from. These are biblical ideas, and of course they relate to this kind of ancient writing because that's come down through the Jewish and Hebrew tradition. But we can take our wisdom with us in whatever way we want. I mean, if you were put in the position of having a flood coming through your house, which of course where I live in Wales and also in parts of the Midlands of England, has been a big deal in recent years. What would you grab? What wisdom would you grab? Some people might want to take their Bible with them. Some people might want to take the Quran with them. Some people might want to take some runes with them, or their tarot pack. But whatever your treasure of wisdom might be, what would you take with you? What is the wisdom that means something to you? But when you strip all those away, if you couldn't take any of them with you, the wisdom would be here, because it's given to us. It's given to us, and then we ground it. And there's no going back on that. If everything is taken, all these old books, all these old stories, then what is the wisdom in your heart? Where can you find something inwardly? So this ark is about inwardness. It's about containing who you are, retreating into who you are. I'll just show you another character which we brought up not long ago, and that is Dalet. So Dalet is very, very similar, but can you see one orb of light goes off to one side? So in Dalet, you're having a movement away from inwardness, but with the ark, you're being called back in and closing the opening, closing down. So think about that. We want to move forward. We all want to move forward. And certainly here in the UK, we keep waiting for the government to say, yes, you can come out of the lockdown. But every time we hear from them, they say, you could come out a little bit, but it's pretty much the same. So we kind of retreat back into ourselves and say, what else is there for us within? Not just watching Netflix, not just finding ways to communicate online, perhaps something more reclusive, more like the hermit who we saw the other day. Because the hermit is carrying that wisdom, just like the Israelites carried the wisdom in their Ark of the Covenant as they traipsed through the desert, and they wanted to protect what they got because they were going to a new land. It's an archetypal story. It's not just for Jewish people. It's an archetypal story for the human race. That's why it's so famous in many ways, because it calls to the human journey, the human condition. So think about how to access the wisdom. Obviously, call on any tools that you've got, but it's the wisdom from within, inside your ark. But then also ask yourself questions about the animals 2 by 2 and the seeds. What are you going to take forward? What are you going to put inside that ark? So when you come out and feel more freedom, more movement, what have you got with you that's really, really important to you? I'll just give you a little quick reading from the ark. The ark is an empty container until we fill it. It sits in the temple, awaiting the divine. When every space is filled with our own thoughts and measurements, there is no place for the divine to filter into our lives. Therefore, we need to keep an ark ready and waiting as a sign of our purpose to always allow the divine flame a space in our lives. So too much hustle bustle on the social media, on the programs that keep being churned out, too much of that allows no space. So find the space, enjoy the space, be with it, trust it, understand that in that space something amazing can come through you. Okay, now let's move onward, because I want to show you another archangel. A few days ago I was showing you an archangel from the days of the week archangels I was showing you. And I've got another one for you today. That this archangel doesn't have a day of the week because he's just there all the time. And this is Sandalphon. Now, let me read you what it says about Sandalphon. Have I got the right pages? Sandalphon is a steward who rules the kingdom, that's the kingdom at the bottom of the tree of life, and binds each blade of grass, each creature, each movement of the elements into a coherent world. Thus, we are able to trust in the kingdom for our support. Like a child who can put trust in its parents to provide the daily bread, we can place our trust in the powers which shape the manifest world. We can relax and play our own part without anxiety. So Sandalphon plays this key role. He's not an archangel of one of the days of the week, or not associated with a planet in our solar system, because he governs the earth plane. And to go back to Noah, we are talking here about coming out of the bridge of stars and potentially creating a new kind of kingdom, so that perhaps planet Earth, Mother Earth, having been given a bit of respite from the frenetic activity of the human race, who've now perhaps settled down a little bit, but perhaps desperate to get back to their old lifestyles, are being told, no, you can't do the old lifestyle because Mother Earth needs this breather. And it's quite clear that there are many benefits from what's going on for the environment. And he's very much about the environment because this is a holistic system and we are part of it. We are not masters of it, we're guests here. And Sandalphon reminds us of that. And when Sandalphon works and channels the energies of all those other archangels down into the kingdom. So here are the other archangels. We've been through all of them. Let me just do that. So you will remember them. And if you want to work with them more, go over to Path Working with Archangels. And so each of them, in their different ways, has something to contribute to this amazing process of life that we're in. They're all archetypes that are channeling the life energy, the Schaefer energy. The Schaefer that's flowing through everything is exuberant and lively, and it expresses itself through these different archangels, just like light expresses itself in different colours through a rainbow. And think of the rainbow as the robe of glory, the magical garment that we as human beings can expect to wear and collectively wear a robe of glory, so that we become, yes, not these desperate creatures just scrabbling around on planet Earth trying to grab what we can, but living totally in harmony with it. And this sounds perhaps very utopian and kind of new agey, but it has got a mystical truth in it, and that can be realized. It can be realized, but it requires some deep commitment from us all the time, constantly holding that vision in our minds. And if you see, Sandalphon has got that little building in the background there, and that is a signifier. It's a representative of the concept of the sacred building or the sacred city, and Obviously, over many years, it's been referred to as Jerusalem, but it's not a literal Jerusalem. It could be a Shambhala in other cultures, but it's a place that we can envision having created as a good and positive way of living on planet Earth. It's not one particular city or one particular sacred building, but it's a concept of being able to live in the material with the spiritual being given its proper place as well. So let me close with a quotation from Bridge of Stars again. Here we are, the wonderful Bridge of Stars. Let me move Sandalphon. Thank you very much, to one side. And I have a lovely prayer here that I think will bring us all delight. It's from somebody called George Campbell, who was born in 1916. And at the point when this book was published, he was obviously still alive. And I wonder whether he is now. I'm going to look for him and find out. And he came from Jamaica. It's called Litany. I hold the splendid daylight in my hands, inwardly grateful for a lovely day. Thank you, life. Daylight, like a fine fan spread from my hands. Daylight, like scarlet poinsettia. Daylight, like yellow cassia flowers. Daylight, like clean water. Daylight, like green cacti. Daylight, like sea sparkling with white horses. Daylight, like sun-strained blue sky. Daylight, like tropic hills. Daylight, like a sacrament in my hands. Amen. A sacrament in my hands. Amen. Be joyful. Amen. Salah.